Hey everyone, welcome. We're reading Martin Heidegger's Metaphysics. He was a German philosopher. Super wordy, but very cool. Um, can't say I'm disappointed. Very excited. Was one of my logic professor's favorite philosophers. So, let's dig in. We're on his paragraph 113, okay? Into the sounding of the word as well, and into the wind swift all understanding, he found his way, and into the metal to rule over cities. He has considered too how he might flee exposure to the arrows of unpropitious weather and its frosts. Everywhere trying out under way untried with no way out, he comes to nothing. Wow. Everywhere trying out, just try this, try that, doesn't work. Underway, untried, with no way he comes to nothing. That sounds very nihilistic. A single onslaught, death, he was unable ever to resist by any flight, even if in the face of dire illness, deft escape should be granted him. Clever indeed, for he masters skills, devices beyond expectation. Now he falls prey to wickedness. Happens to Allah. Yet again valor succeeds for him. Between the ordinance of the earth and the gods' sworn fittingness he fares. The gods' sworn fittingness he fares. That's very poetic language. Rising high over the sight, losing the sight, is he for whom what is not is always for the sake of daring. For the sake of daring. Doing it just for that sake, I don't know. It's not a very good sake. Let him not become a companion at my hearth, nor let my knowing share the delusions. Don't let my consciousness get tricked into that illusion, essentially, right? Or one who works such deeds. So don't become that in which he described. The following interpretation is necessarily insufficient, if only because it cannot be constructed on the basis of the whole of this tragedy, much less the poet's entire work. I love tragic poetry, man. Neither is this the place to report on the choice of readings and the changes that have been made in the text. We will carry out the interpretation in 3 phases, and each time we will go through the whole ode in a different respect. In the first phase, okay, let's check it out, we will especially stress what provides the inner integrity of the poem and sustains and permeates the whole, even in its linguistic form. So, what's sustained in the poem, the integrity of the poem, what the poem permeates out. Okay. Linguistic wise. In the second phase, we will follow the sequence of the strophes and antistrophes and pace off the the entire domain that the poetry opens up. In the third phase, we will attempt to attain a stance in the midst of the whole, in order to assess who the human being is according to this poetic saying. So analyze what makes a human based off this poem. Okay, hold on then. So God's sworn fittingness he fares, so how a human being assesses it is that he's subjected to the divine will of God. For the sake of daring, sometimes humans do things, for stupid reasons. Illness is something that humans face. Let's see, I can get with that, the third phase most of all. Okay. The first phase, we seek what sustains and permeates the whole. Actually, we hardly have to see it. It is threefold. It assails us 3 times. Like a repeated assault, and from the start breaks up all everyday standards of questioning and defining. First is the beginning, pola ta diena. Manifold is the uncanny, yet nothing uncannier than man bestirs itself, rising up beyond him. Nothing uncannier than bestirs man itself. What about an octopus? These first 2 verses cast forth what the following ode as a whole will seek to capture, in the details of its saying, and which it must fit into the structure of the word. The human being is, in one word, to dienotaton. What word is that? What is that? The uncanniest. This saying about humanity grasps it from the most extreme limits and the most abrupt abyss of its being. Abrupt abyss of its being, just right there, just like sudden, this is my being. Just sort of sounds like a midlife crisis or something. This abruptness and ultimacy, so the ultimate death, your abrupt, untimely death, can never be seen by eyes that merely describe and ascertain something present at hand. So if you only look at descriptions and you only look at what's happening at the hand, and not really an overlapping of the two with a little bit of nuance underneath, you won't really be able to see what that abyss of being is, essentially, I think is what he's getting at. Even if a myriad such eyes should want to seek out human characteristics and conditions. Human characteristics and conditions. Such being opens itself up only to poetic, thoughtful projection. I like that. Oh, poetic, thoughtful projection. Sort of like meditation. Not meditation in the religious sense, just like meditating. Kind of like Marcus Aurelius. We find no delineation of present at-hand exemplars of humanity, no more than we find some blind and foolish exaltation of the human essence from beneath. Wait a minute. We find no delineation of present-hand exemplars of humanity. So people just living in the moment, those people living in the moment are not like very good examples, maybe, is what he's saying. No more than we find some blind and foolish exaltation of the human essence from beneath, from a dissatisfied peevishness that snatches at importance that it feels is missing. Dissatisfied peevishness. Look at Heidegger. We find no glorified personality. Among the Greeks there were no personalities yet, and thus nothing supra-personal either. The human being is to denoton, the uncanniest of the uncanny. The Greek word deonon and our translation call for an advanced application here. Yes, indeed it does. This explication is to be given only on the basis of the unspoken prior view of the entire ode. The entire ode. Which itself supplies only the equate interpretation of the two first verses. The entire ode, equate interpretation. The Greek word deonon has the uncanny ambiguity with which the saying of the Greeks traverses the opposed confrontations of being. Opposed confrontations of being. So the Greek word is spelled this way, fam. D-E-I-N-O-N. And I guess that gets related to the word uncanny. On the one hand, deonon names the terrible, but it does not apply to petty terrors. Petty terrors? That sounds like a funny comparison. If it's petty, how can you get terrorized? Right? Petty terrors. That's funny. Because usually when you say something's petty, you're like, man, that's little, don't even sweat it. Right? And terror is like when you're just shocked out of your system. So, what is a petty shock? You know? And does not have the degenerate, childish, and useless meaning that we give the word today when we call something terribly cute. Oh, okay. Something is okay, I see. And it's terribly cute is like when a baby panda gets mad. You ever seen it? It just rolls. You're like, that's so terribly cute. Or when a really cute puppy is like tearing up a couch sofa. You're like, that's terrible, but it's also cute. The deonon is the terrible in the sense of overwhelming sway. Okay, that's a good way that he's leading us out for us. So when we see the word deonon, we have to think of a overwhelming sway. So overwhelming as in out of your control. It's like a swoosh. Which induces panic, fear, true anxiety, as well as collected, inwardly reverberating, reticent awe. inwardly reverberating, reticent awe. It's always on the ready. The violent, the overwhelming, is the essential character of the sway itself. Violent, huh? So it's a violent sway instead of like a smooth, kind of mild sway that's like slowly grasping. No, it's violent, overwhelming. Sounds like a tsunami or hurricane. When the sway breaks in, it can keep its overwhelming power to itself. Wow. But this does not make it more harmless, but only more terrible and distant. Because it has the power to itself, it makes it a tad bit more distant from us. And because it's distant, that makes it more terrible, because you can't exactly grasp it as much. Fair point, Heidegger.